Hi there, welcome to the MVEA Stage 2, how to set up SharePoint. So this is a short demonstration which will be helping us to move from to the Stage 2. So it's based on MVEA Stage 1 that I've already put some articles out on and is available on my website. And this is how to create the SharePoint architecture repository that really covers up Stage 2, and that's the digitizing of your architecture, making it available to people to consume. It's digital, it's on the web, it's on your SharePoint site, it's available, and people can interact with it. So basically, this is the concept of these videos is to use that Stage 1. Now, you may have developed further from Stage 1, but the concept in Stage 1 is that you're using Excel spreadsheets and Visio diagrams, and now we're just going to move it into SharePoint so that it's easier to use, and we're also going to be improving those catalogs, the linking of the catalogs, how you link them together using SharePoint lists, and more in terms of business capability models. In this video 1, we're just going to be creating the site, basically uploading those folders and files, importing the catalogs, and doing the basic links. So it's just really the first step, if you like, of that first stage. So sorry about that. So the first part is to create. So you'll need, obviously, to have access to a SharePoint capability and have the right to create a site. Normally, when you go to SharePoint from your Office application, there's a create site. If you don't have that, then you need to go back to your administrator and get access to it. But it's as simple as this. Click on the create site. It then comes up and asks you what type of site. Now, you can use either. I find that the communication site is best because what you're trying to do is get it out to multiple people. You can still create a team that has edit capabilities. So we're going to go with the communication site. Now, you can call your name and you can change the site name at any point. I often call it architecture repository. You may have other words. You may want to use your own company name, or call it enterprise architecture repository, for example, because that's really what it is. Now, this is important. The site address is important. You really only have one go at it. You can't really change it, and you want it to make it as, as simple as possible, because this will create the URL that you will share with users, and if you can make it memorable, that all the better. So, for example, we might have EAR as our short name, so that this is now our URL, and that's easy for people to remember and type. Obviously, you can put in a site description and so on. There are various things to set up. I won't go through it all in boring detail. For example, regional settings, to make sure that it's with your own time zone, that you use your own date formats, and so on. Now, by default, the communication site comes up with this particular theme. You can change the theme. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'll leave that to you. That's your artistic side. I quite like the hero, as it's called, the hero slides. And these you can easily change, which I'll show you in a moment, how you can change the slides to fit what you want. I often change this word to library. I like the concept of the architecture repository having a library, but of course that doesn't matter. The first thing we're going to do is load up the folders from the MVEA that I've shipped out and shared with people on Dropbox. If you want a copy of that, please contact me on my website, intron.com.au. And I can share that baseline with you, which is a folder with some. In fact, we'll go into it now. If we go into the documents here, what we're going to do is upload the folders. So we go upload folder, and this will open up. And here it is in the MVEA Dropbox. This is exactly what you get. access to, and you can copy it. So we're just going to be uploading these folders now. SharePoint will only upload folders if it's got some data in it. So some of these folders, because it's the early for stage 1, don't have any data. So for example, the first 3 do, and we'll stick with those. So I'm just going to load those, but the information architecture one is actually empty at this stage. You can just create those folders when you're ready. So that's your business architecture, and we're now going to load up the application architecture. And we're going to skip information and technology for the moment. We'll load up solutions architecture, as we'll be using that later, and we're going to load up the roadmap as well, because we will be using the roadmap too. But we'll leave the rest. Now, obviously, you can load up whatever you want, but this, to me, this is what I normally do when I'm setting up with a company. If we have created the Excel spreadsheets, if we have used MVEA1 as your first baseline, what I do is I share the spreadsheets with people. I get them to fill in their data, and then I can build the basics just using Excel and spreadsheets. That gets them past the first stage. They go, yes, we love it, and we can then justify moving to this stage. So those folders are already in place. Next thing that we need to do is load up the catalogs, and we're only going to load up 2 catalogs in this particular section, which is going to be the org model and the application. So that's the basics. But just to show you, this is how you can navigate around with SharePoint. We do have in the MVEA1 these PDFs. We can actually get rid of those now. We'll also get rid of the 2010 version. That was just for backward compatibility. So in fact, I'm just going to clean this up right now. This is what I normally do, is just start deleting stuff that I don't want, because it can confuse people. That means we've now got that simple model in there. Now, to load up catalogs, we're going to be loading it from the architecture inventory spreadsheet. We go to the site contents tab here, and here we quite simply just click on new and a new list. This says, do you want it from Excel? Yes, I do. Now, it's important to note that by the way, it's gone straight to the folder here. We're actually going to need to upload it from my Windows, which I'm already there, the Windows Explorer. So if I go to Architecture Inventory, so that's the inventory. Now, just to point out that the early version of the inventory has been updated now. If you need a later version, then please collect it from the Dropbox or contact me again on my intron.com.au website. There's a contact where you can email me. The main difference is that SharePoint now requires the Excel spreadsheet to have tables set up, and it uses those tables to load up the lists, and you'll see that in operation now. So we're going to open up the now you can do that yourself. It's not complicated to do that in Excel, but it is required. So it's, as you can see, it's now loading those tables. You can set that up yourself if you've got your own tables, and you can see that it gives those tables as a drop down. So we're going to pick org units as the first one, and notice it already starts prompting which of the fields to import. We don't need this ID field. SharePoint will create its own ID. Now, in the version that we created, we had multiple names. We had this org name here, we had the name here, and we also had the short name as well, team short name here. We don't need this first one, so I'm going to tell it not to import this first one. We do want to import this one, but we want this one to be the title. Now, title is a very important field in SharePoint lists. It's the kind of key field. It doesn't have to be unique, but it is your link into the record. So we're actually going to use this one as the title. The rest of it we could actually we want the description to be text. So we'll change that to be text. And we can leave these in at the moment, but we don't want them to be numbers, or we could just remove them and add them in later. They're not important because they don't really have a lot of data in there, unless you've changed it, of course. And obviously then you're going to have to make it your own. So I'll not import that one. And now we're going to give it a better name. So let's call it org catalog. Oops. And we won't put it on the site navigation. That sticks it up here. We won't put it up there because it starts getting confusing if we do that. Not a big deal. You can move it if you need to. I won't bother with the description at the moment, although it might be worthwhile you putting in a description. So that creates that lists. You can see it's pretty quick, and there's our catalog up and running, already in place. Notice it's put the title on the left-hand side, and this is going to be our key that we're going to use. Let's do the application catalog. So back to site contents, and click on New, List, Excel, Upload File, back to the inventory. Now the application catalog has a lot more fields. There's quite a few choice fields in there, we'll select that. You'll need to do some post work to tidy the catalog up and make it usable. It's also quite a big catalog as well. So same thing, do not import the ID. Keep the org name, change it to title. Now, what in SharePoint, it's good to have that key field always as title. Makes it a lot easier when you're linking in that you know that always you're using title as being the core. It's just a sort of standardization. What we've got now is some what really we want to be choice fields. So we're just going to make them choice fields, not the name, department. That's going to link back to the department. I've just realized that I've linked in the wrong one, so apologies for that. What I needed to do was pick the applications tab. I'm going to leave this one. That's the kind of mistake that we kind of make. Right, so now once again, application name is now the title. The common name we'll leave as a line of text. It's already decided this is multiple lines of text because it's more than 255 characters. Now these are going to be choices, so let's change it to choices. This is going to be a choice. We're going to have to add the choices in later, but it'll import it as it stands. And that means at least that's already set up. This is also a choice. This would be a choice. This one will actually, we'll make it a choice for the moment, but what we can also do is create a table of these. If you need to change, if you're going to be changing these elements, then it's worth putting it in a table. This will be a choice as well. The business owner won't. Capabilities, we'll leave that as text. We'll have to change that to a link later. The status, we'll want to be a choice. Link documents I will not import, and notes I'll make into a text. So there you go. So that's the application. Give it a nice name. Catalog. And it's going to be creating it. So that'll take a little bit longer because it's a little bit bigger. What we're going to do then in this is just open up the org model and link to these two elements. But you can see here are here's your catalog already in place. I'll quickly show you how to change the choices, add the choices. What you're going to want to do is open the Excel. I'll just bring it up. You're going to open up your inventory. So let's go to your inventory. Open up your architecture inventory. Now in the architecture inventory, there's a tab called lists at the end. And that has all the choices. So if we pick one of those, which let's just say is assessment score, we can just choose this, Control C to copy it. We go back to our table here, and it was assessment score. So that's this one here. If we use the settings field, this is the best way to do this change. Go to list settings. Go and find your assessment score, which is here. It's already choice. We open that up and simply paste in the choices in there. We can remove the last one, and that's done. So that's a little bit of extra work that needs to be done for each of these choices, so that and now we'll have that drop down capability that we want. So a little bit of work to tidy up. There's a lot that you can do here. For example, you can do some formatting. So we can give it some choice, some pills, and that makes it prettier. There's a lot more that you can do, which I won't take you through right now. Now what we're going to do, though, is link our Visio diagrams to these particular catalogs. And the main one we're going to do is this particular org chart. Now, you can click on this org chart here, and it'll open it up within Visio Online. That comes as standard with all SharePoint sites. But what we're going to do is open this up in the application. That is in Visio itself. Now, remember, you need Visio Pro 2016 onwards. 2013 will work. 2010 has a couple of limitations. It will work, but it does have a couple of limitations that I've found. So I advise 2016 onwards. It's up to you. So we have two versions of the model, if you like. One is just the org view, and of course here we have the LinkedIn Excel spreadsheets, and we're just going to remove those. We don't want those anymore on this version, so let's pull them out, remove, and this is how we now link in the new the new SharePoint lists. Go to data, custom install, SharePoint Foundation list, choose the one that you've just created, which in this case is EAR. So that's the URL that's used. We're going to pick the org catalog, and we're going to load the whole lot in. Just takes a little while. Now, first thing is it often loads up all these other fields that we don't want. So often I'll do a right mouse button click in this area, click on column settings, and just remove some of the stuff that we're really not interested in. We do want title, but we don't want these others. So that just tidies it up. And now we'll bring in the application catalog. Foundation list, same URL, application catalog is the first one. That loads that one up. Now what we want to do is link these to the org catalog, right? So clicking on home, we then click on select by type, select layer, pick organization, tick on that one. That selects all of those. A right mouse button click here, or what you can do is link it in other ways. I'm going to do a right mouse button click and a link here. Selected shapes, yes. We'll just do the title to the shape text. That should work because that's where it all comes from, obviously, unless you've made other changes. And that now links them all. And as you can see, that linking had come up. We've got one blank at the bottom which needs to be deleted, but it's linked all of them. Now we want to do the same in this version here, which has actually also got the apps in here. So what we want to do is click on home, select by type, layer, org, and right mouse button click, and link data, selected shapes, very easy to do, and it's all linked in. And now we want to do the same for our applications. So I've selected now only applications. We go to the application catalog. We're now doing the same thing. Link data, selected shapes, title to shape text, and finish. And it's all should be linked. There we are. So that's it. We can now save that, and we have now fully linked the data of our model to the catalog. If I just save that to the catalogs that we've got, and our first version, therefore, of our architecture repository is actually in place. I will then do some little bit of editing to make things a bit tidier. For example, I go back to this page. If you edit this page here and select this, let's say I usually use this one. You can edit this. If you click on it, you can edit it here. We'll change the link, and we're going to change it to that architecture or that enterprise org chart, which is, come on, here. Sorry, I'll try that again. Apologies. So that's now linked that in here. We'll change the text to be business organizational model, for example. And you might want to change the diagram, give it a nice fancy diagram. I might load up something here, or you can use the stock images and find something that looks like organization. Or for example, something that you might think is organizational. It's your choice. I'll choose that one. And that just makes it a little bit prettier. We republish that. And now we're starting to create, and you don't want to change these too much. You want it to create a feeling of consistency so that when people come up, they know that they can go and look and get access directly to the org model there. Finish off there. Thank you very much for listening. Hope that makes sense and that is useful for you in setting up your first architecture catalog.